No, señora.
Good evening.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Hello.
Hi, teacher. Good evening.
How are you today?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, that's great. So I see.
Fine.
Okay, hello, Paola. Hi, Jaime, Lorena, Fernando, Sebastián. How is everything today?
Good, thank you. Fantastic.
Okay, that's great. Very good. Well, so let's start. Welcome to our encounter number 6. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you again. And I'm going to share our agenda for today. So basically, we are going to finish the presentation that we started the last encounter, that it was about curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We talked a little bit about curriculum. We are going to continue today. But before that, I'm going to give you your feedback, on your videos. So most of you have the grade in the virtual classroom. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check your grade now. Okay, it is ready. I think that I'm missing 2 activities, but I think after the encounter or tomorrow morning, you will have the corresponding grades. Okay.
Okay.
Well, and after that, we will continue talking about curriculum, especially about Bloom's taxonomy, then a little bit about instruction, and finally about assessment. And we will talk a little bit about the activity that we have for next week, that is the lesson plan. That is our last activity, the last activity that we have for the course. Okay, so let's start with the feedback on your videos. So I had to tell you that you did a great job once again. Well, you did great videos, very interesting, very creative. So regarding the strengths, well, you use a variety of tools, despite of the fact that some of you were not familiar with the tools. Well, you practice and you try to identify the different resources you had, so you presented good activities. You were very creative. Well, some of you used videos to introduce the topics, others to introduce the virtual learning environment, or to practice the vocabulary, to provide input to your students. So it was also good, the content, the language, And I could see that there was a very good collaborative work in the different groups. So congratulations on that. Well, I didn't include aspects to improve because, well, there were a few things like, for example, language issues, pronunciation, spelling that I didn't consider they were relevant. So that's why I didn't include aspects to improve today. Okay, so very good. And I could see that you did your best. You did a great effort. So very good. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you the slides that we were that we studied the previous encounter very quickly. First of all, we had a reflection about the process that you were following by developing your virtual learning environment, the way you included assessment, the difficulties you had, the strengths you had. Then we talk a little bit about curriculum, the definition of curriculum and the characteristics of curriculum. We talk about the standards and benchmarks, and we talk about the characteristics of appropriate goals. Okay, so that was what. Okay, and we talk about the spiral curriculum, and we watch a short video about this. So that was what we did the last encounter. What I want to talk about today is about Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy, because I consider it is relevant when we talk about curriculum and when we talk about thinking skills. So, as you may know, Benjamin Bloom was a professor from Chicago University. He was born in 1913 and he died in 1999. So he qualified educational objectives to guide instruction and assessment. So there is a well-known taxonomy for categorizing the different levels of learning and thinking skills. So according to him, there are 6 levels of knowledge, that he represented them in a pyramid. The levels are thought to build on one another. Okay? Before continuing and showing you that taxonomy, I would like to ask you if you remember a little bit of that taxonomy. Do you remember the different levels of learning? Do you remember something about Bloom's taxonomy? Or what do you know? What do you remember about it?
Well, not that much as you could notice, but I remember we mentioned some. Well, I remember seeing something throughout the copies that said like students are able to observe, to determine, to identify, to and that define the levels of understanding. That's what I remember. Depending on the goal you wanted to achieve.
Okay, Luis, that's good. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Someone else? Okay, well, okay, I'm going to show you. This is Bloom's taxonomy. So he stated 6 levels of learning. He starts with the basic one and he ends with the highest one, that is, well, the first one is knowledge, then we have comprehension, then we have application, then we have analysis, synthesis, and finally we have evaluation. Yeah. Perhaps you know that there was a new version about this taxonomy, but this is the original one. There are some changes in the new taxonomy, but well, this is the original and the one that he proposed. He says that we have to start developing the basic skills if we want to get to the evaluation level. So he says that first we have to start with the knowledge, then we have to continue with the comprehension, then application. So we have to follow that order if we want to reach the highest one, that is evaluation. Okay, so I'm going to show you a short description of each of these levels. So for that, I would like you to help me reading the slides, please. So can someone help me reading the first one, that is knowledge?
Observation.
Okay,
go ahead.
Who's
Go
talking?
ahead.
Who's talking, sorry?
Okay, knowledge. Observation and recall of information.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge of dates, events, places. Knowledge of major ideas. The feeling of being acquainted. Road memory. Function cues. List, define, tell, describe, identify, show, label, collect, examine, tabulate, quote, name, who, when, where, etc.
Okay, Lorena, thank you very much. Yeah, so knowledge is related to that, to getting basic information, as Lorena says, knowledge of dates, events, places, and you have like a list of verbs that you can use if you want your students to develop this level of learning, that is knowledge. Okay, then we have the second one, that is comprehension. Can someone help me read this, please?
Okay, comprehension and understanding information, grasp meaning, interpret facts, order, group, infer causes, predict consequences, question cues, summarize, describe, interpret, predict, associate, distinguish, estimate, differentiate, discuss, and extend.
Okay, Belisario, thank you very much. Well, is that clear? Do you have questions? Well, I think that the verbs that you have at the end help you to understand what kind of activities or what kind of skills a teacher could develop in the students to reach this level of learning. Okay, let's continue with the third one, that is application. Who wants to read?
Let me go this time.
Okay.
Okay.
Use information.
Luis?
Yes,
Okay.
that's me again.
Okay, Luis.
Okay, so use information, apply methods, concepts, theories in new situations, solve problems using required skills or knowledge, and question cues, apply, demonstrate, calculate, complete, illustrate, show, solve, examine, modify, relate, change, classify, experiment, and discover.
Okay, that's right. Thank you, Luis. Okay, so Benjamin Bloom says that, well, first students need to acquire the knowledge, then they have to understand or comprehend that knowledge, and then they need to apply that knowledge, right? That is what he says. Okay, then we have the next level, that is analysis. Who wants to read this? Paola? You want to?
Yeah, teacher.
Okay.
See patterns, comparing and contrasting, organizing of parts, recognition of hidden meanings, identification of components. Wait me a second because I can see all the screen. I don't know. Yeah. No, sorry. I try to.
Okay. What happened? You
I can see. I can watch my old screen. I don't know what happened. I can put my screen in full screen. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, conscious cues when evaluating, analyze, separate, order, explain, connect, classify, arrange, divide, compare, select, explain, infer.
Okay, very good. Well, let's continue with the next one. That is synthesis. Who wants to read this one?
Use all ideas to create new ones. Generalize from given facts. Relate knowledge from several areas. Predict, draw conclusions. Question cues. Combine, integrate, modify, rearrange. Substitute, plan, create, design, invent. What is compose, formulate, prepare, generalize, rewrite.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Elisario. And we have the last one, that is evaluation. Who would like to read this one?
Evaluation, compare and discriminate between ideas. Assess value of theories presentations. Make choices based on the reasoned argument. Verify value of evidence. Recognize subjectivity. Question cues when evaluating. Assess, decide, rank, grade, test, measure, recommend, convince, select, judge, explain, discriminate, support, conclude, compare, summarize.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Well, so according to these levels of learning, I'm going back to the first one, that is knowledge. I would like you to think about an activity that you could apply to develop this level of learning. And you can use the cues that you have here as a help to think about an activity that you could implement in a lesson to develop this level of learning.
Like matching some cards, for example, the name with the picture. Because students identify a name. It's the same thing. Well, in this case.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that could be an example. Very good. Another one?
Well, if there's one that just says name, so maybe when students are learning new vocabulary, they can name classroom objects or colors or animals. So,
yeah, very good. Excellent. Right. Okay, those are two clear examples to develop knowledge in your students. Let's continue with the second one, that is comprehension. Okay, the same exercise. Think about an activity that you would use to develop this level of learning in your students.
For example, you may show students some titles and a picture, so they predict what is the listening or the reading going to be about.
That's great. They are predicting and they are associating as well. Very good. Another one?
Predicting what is going to happen.
I'm sorry? I can hear you well.
Maybe showing a video and predicting what is going to happen.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah, that could be another activity. Okay. Let's continue with the next one, that is application.
Yeah, but students can complete gaps or blanks with the vocabulary that is being studied.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Another one.
They can also draw pictures.
I'm sorry?
They can also draw pictures where it says illustrate.
Exactly. Yeah, very good.
They could You could also, for example, bring fruits to the classroom and let them try them and classify them um, according to their taste, bitter, sweet, sour.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, excellent. Okay, let's continue with the next one, that is analysis.
And the students define what is that word?
I'm sorry?
Uh, Showing or writing a word, and the
Uh,
students define what is that word.
uh-huh. Defining.
Defining, yes.
Okay. Do you think it would be here in analysis, defining?
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, why? Why? I'm sorry, who was talking?
That is Jaime Fernando.
Jaime. Okay, Jaime. Jaime, why do you think that defining a word could be here in analysis?
Teacher, the example that I say is showing a word and define that word is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And my question was why? Why do you think this activity could be here in analysis?
Okay. Because I think that is recognition of hiding meanings or
Mm-hmm. Okay.
or interpreting that word is could be used in the real life or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. In that case, they would be connecting, explaining. Very good. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's continue with the next one, that is synthesis. Okay. I'm sorry, Juan David said ordering words in a sentence, but it was in this one, in synthesis, Juan David? In the previous one, in analysis? Okay, right. Very good. And Ana Maria says students reading the story or organizing a story. Okay, yeah. It could be also an activity for this one. Okay, and for synthesis.
For
Any other
example,
example? Yeah.
if you were talking about traveling or countries or something like that, you could make students prepare like I forgot how you say that, like a little presentation, a little paper that
Brochure?
tells every. I was like, no, not a voucher. Actually, usually it is folded in three places or more, but I can't remember its name. Well, and in there, students say, for example, the prices of the place where they're going, some recommendations, and they role play as tourist agents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Okay. Juan David says doing drafts. Yeah. In that case, they would be designing. It could be related to that planning as well. Yeah, very good. Okay, and the final one, that is evaluation. How can you help your students to evaluate or assess?
maybe by making them research a topic and give their opinion about it,
Mm-hmm.
or having a debate on class could be.
Yeah, very good. Right. Okay, more examples?
When it says convince, probably they can talk about a topic that they choose, and the idea is for them to convince other people that, I don't know, their favorite hobby is the best thing to do.
Very good. Yeah. So you are giving them choices, and they would be supporting ideas. Yeah, very good. Okay, excellent. So I see that you understand these levels of learning very well. Okay, so it is related to curriculum because we are supposed to develop students' thinking skills and these levels of learning in them. So that's why I'm showing you this. Okay. Well, so this is the second concept that I wanted to show you and that I told you that is related to curriculum and assessment. And I remember that Belisario said the previous encounter that, well, you can have a very good curriculum, but if you don't have a good and an effective instruction, well, it is not going to be worthy. So, well, to have a good instruction, well, we have to start with this essential question. Well, first, when we teach, do we spray and pray, or we deliberately implement effective instructional strategies that maximize student learning? So I would like to ask you about this expression, spray and pray. Do you understand it? Or what do you think about it?
Well, I think spray and pray means that you just throw stuff in your class. You just show things in the board and see how you can work it out. That's
Uh-huh.
what I get from spray and pray.
Or
Exactly.
you hope that they will learn, but you're not sure that it is going to work.
Exactly. You're completely right. Yeah. That is like, it is not just giving students like a lot of content and, well, that's something that some teachers do, that they go to the class, they talk for an hour and they think they are teaching something and they suppose students are going to learn. But well, that is not enough. We can give our students some content, we can tell them or explain some things, but it is not enough because we need some strategies that we need to implement if we want them to learn. Yeah. So, what do you think about the question?
It is a question
Well,
that helps you see if you are doing what you have to do as a teacher, or you're just there, I don't know, filling a spot, but not doing something worth for the students to learn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, very good. That's why not any person could be a teacher. So if a person wants to teach, well, that person needs training in teaching. Yeah, it's not enough to go to a class and explain something. We need to use strategies and we need training to do that.
well, it makes me reflect on my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I've been spraying and praying, and also I've been teaching, like for real.
Mm-hmm.
And when you spray and pray, you don't know what to assess. You don't know what you're going to bring to the classroom. You don't know what you bring is going to work out or not. You don't have a plan B. You don't have a plan C. You just exist and breathe, and that's it. So you're very lost when you teach. But when you implement the effective instructional strategies, now you think that if you're going to present a word, you say, okay, how am I going to mimic this word so they understand, or how am I going to make it clear for them, even if they're not understanding what I say? So you prepare in advance to show examples and maybe other pictures that may um, help them understand, or pictures related to the word that you're explaining,
Mm-hmm.
or strategies to avoid just going through the grammar.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Very good, Luis. So Juan David says we need to be prepared and give them the information organized and with the specific goals. So the name of that is planning. Okay, Belisario? Yeah.
Okay, I consider that the two aspects that are really relevant here are knowledge, teachers' knowledge, and experience. Because when teachers have experience, they create material that they can use with the students, or activities that engage students, or they make them practice use something that is being taught, not only to teach something but also to practice it, to like give strategies to students in order to use what they are supposed to learn.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
and this is possible through experience, like because as I mentioned before, teachers are supposed to create great material, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that can implement in the classes, during the classes.
Yeah, you're right. And you are mentioning two key aspects, that is, well, knowledge, that is related to training, experience, and what Juan David said before, that is planning. Planning is really important in instruction. Well, if you plan, if you don't plan, well, you can't expect your students to learn anything. In that case, if you don't plan, you are spraying and praying. Yeah. So Ana Maria says that her students make flashcards. Okay, that is related to what Belisario said before, that, well, you can create your material, but you can also ask your students to create their own material. Yeah, very good. Okay, excellent. Well, so instruction is that, is planning, is using your experience, is putting into practice your knowledge, and well, that is a mix of that, and it is what supports the curriculum. Yeah. Okay. There is a power law of learning that is really important and that every teacher should know. Well, and that would be what every teacher should expect at the end of the learning process. Well, the students may start with little or no knowledge regarding a topic, but end with a great deal of knowledge. That is what we all expect when we teach something. They don't know anything, or they don't know something, but we help them at the end to learn what we teach them. Yeah, that is the power law of learning, and that is something that is well, very basic, but it's the law of learning, right? So so we have the characteristics of instruction. So we need to know that teacher is a learning administrator, that we need to implement some strategies to increase student learning. Yeah, it was what we were talking before. We need some processing time to elaborate and rehearse. It is not enough just explaining or giving students the knowledge. They need to process what they learn. We need to implement strategies to help students understand, remember, and apply new information. Well, not only understand, remember, and apply, but all of the levels of learning that we saw before. Well, if you have knowledge about neuroscience, well, it would be great. And that is something that teachers nowadays need. We need to know how the brain works to understand the way students learn. Yeah. We also need to know about the memory processing system, because, well, students, students have the knowledge in their short-term memory, but we need that knowledge to go to the long-term memory, right? And we also need to apply some classroom management strategies, because, well, you can have a lesson well planned, you can have a great curriculum, but if your class is a mess, well, it is not going to have results. So you have to apply also, well, not only strategies for your students to learn, but also strategies, classroom management strategies related to resources, discipline grouping, to promote attendance, to know how to deal with transitions, how to deal with disruptive students, etc. Right? So those are like the main characteristics of instruction and the things that you need to keep in mind if you want to have effective instruction in your classroom. Okay? Well, it is also important to know that there is no one best way of teaching, because we have different kinds of population. We are different. We as teachers are different. There are some strategies that work for some teachers, but they don't work for other teachers. So we have to select strategies related to content and skills, and we need to take into account our students' needs, our students' context, their social background, their economical background, etc. So that's why we need to have like a palette of research-based instructional strategies. We, of course, need to know the study of teaching, the pedagogy, and what I said before, know a little bit about brain, how the brain works. Because, well, we have this. If you get to your students' emotions, you are going to have their attention, so knowledge is going to be in their long-term memory, and there is where we have learning. So we have to follow this process. If you want to catch your students' attention, you need to go to their emotions. That's why it is really important to have a good rapport with our students to motivate them and to engage them. Once we have that, well, the other is going to work very good, right? So remember this: emotion, attention, memory, and finally, we will have learning. Okay, so here you have the memory processing system. First, you have the sensory part, yeah, where is you gain students' attention. Then you have the short-term memory, and then you have the long-term memory. That is our goal. We have to get there. Yeah. So with the short-term memory, well, you can rehearse, elaborate, and well, it is where neural networks work. And once you have this, you are going to go to the long-term memory, where students develop like a retention process, because they access and they retrieve knowledge. Yeah. So sensory is related to novelty, meaning, relevance, challenge, choice, application, and we have to take into consideration students' learning styles. For the short-term memory, we are supposed to engage students, apply effective strategies, and provide them opportunities to practice their knowledge. And to get to the long-term memory, well, they need to reflect, to summarize. Graphic organizers are a great way to develop this kind of memory. Writing, nonverbal representations, and note-taking. Yeah, so learning is all about making memory retrievable. So this is like the retention process. So if you apply these activities, well, you are going to have like this percentage of retention. Yeah. If you use lecture, for example, if you are a person that okay, the sound is terrible. Yeah, for all of you.
No.
Okay, I'm going to mute you all, and let's see if it is better. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay. Well, I mute you all, but well, if you want to say something, you can activate your microphones. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, Fernando, about that. Well, if you are a person that is in front of the students talking all of the time, and if you don't give the students the opportunity to participate, well, they are going to learn the 5%. Yeah? Well, this is approximately. If you ask your students to read, well, they are going to learn the 100%. If you present them audiovisual material, well, included reading and including lecture activities, well, they are going to learn the 20%. If you demonstrate your students and if you ask them to demonstrate, they are going to learn the 30%. If you ask them to discuss about any topic, they are going to learn the 50%. If they practice, if they have opportunities to apply what you teach, they are going to learn the 75%. And if you ask them to teach others, they are going to learn the 90%. So that is why we say that the best or the most effective way of learning something is teaching it to another person. So that is like the, yep.
Excuse me, teacher. I'm just curious. Where this percentage came from? Like,
Okay,
I mean,
well, this is, I'm going to show you the reference. Well, it is based on a presentation of Liliana Borrero. She is a Colombian teacher from Unica University, and she is specialized in curriculum and instruction. Yeah. So she has published different resources, different articles about this. So it was taken from her. Yeah, do you know her?
No. I mean, that I went too ahead. Do you have any questions? Slide up here.
Okay, well.
It's just the numbers seem like arbitrary, and sometimes it's good to know, like, in case someone asks. It's not that I don't believe you. It's just that the numbers there.
Yeah, and numbers in some cases, well, they are not objective, because you know that we can't represent learning with numbers, but it is something like for you to have an idea. Yeah, we can say that if you ask your students to teach others, well, they are going to have a better knowledge and a better learning process than just talking to them. Well, we can't say that these percentages are exact, but well, it's for you to have an idea of the retention process and the learning process, the way students learn the best. Yeah. And well, so here we have that the procedural knowledge is hard to learn and forget. You know that we have, the presentation. I'm sorry, Juan David. Yeah, remember that all of the presentations are in a folder in the virtual classroom. You have the communication space. You have the place where you can have access to the encounters. You have then you have the recordings of the encounters. And there is a folder at the end with all of the presentations. So this presentation is there. All of the presentations are available in that folder. Okay? So I was telling you, well, at the end we have that procedural knowledge is hard to learn and forget. We have two kinds of knowledge. Do you know them? The one is procedural. Do you know the other one?
Empirical?
Sorry?
The one that you get by experience? Maybe the one that you get by experience, by doing things?
Is this one, procedural, yeah.
Okay.
This is the one that it is like the hands-on knowledge, yeah. And we have another one. What do you think is the other one? Well, we have this one that is the experience, the practice one, the knowledge that the students acquire by doing, by experiencing.
So one must be a knowledge you acquire by reading or studying certain topic, but not doing anything. Just
you're right.
That is to the letters.
Yeah, it's more like theory. It's more oriented to that, to knowledge that is not tangible, and it is called declarative knowledge. So we need both in a learning process. We need declarative, and we also need procedural knowledge. Yeah. So in this case, we are talking about procedural because teaching is a way of experience, yeah, of learning by practice. Okay, very good. So here we have the best instructional practices or the best instructional strategies that we have mentioned along of the classes that are the ones that Marzano proposes, and that they are based on Bloom's taxonomy, yeah? And, well, they are identifying similarities and differences, summarizing and note-taking, reinforcing effort and providing recognition, homework and practice, non-linguistic representations, cooperative learning, setting objectives and providing feedback, generating and testing hypotheses, and the use of cues, questions, and advanced organizers, right? So these authors, Marzano, Pickering, and Pollock, they say that if you apply all of these strategies, all of them, you are going to have, or you are going to your students are going to learn at the end of the process. Yeah, so these instructional strategies are included in a book that is called One Teacher at a Time. Yeah, so you can find more information about them in that book. Okay, so you have here the strategies and the implications about learning, talking about learning in this case, yeah? So when we develop this strategy that is asking or your students to find similarities and differences, your students are processing information. They are forming concepts, yeah? That is the implication that you have when you develop this strategy. The second one, that is summarizing and note-taking, when students make summaries and when they take notes. So they have a record of their knowledge and they remember things. They can remember things by using their notes, yeah? Then we have reinforcement and recognition. That is something that everyone needs it, yeah? According to Maslow. Do you know Maslow? Do you know something about him?
Yes, I've heard about him, but
Yeah. What have you heard about him?
He's about psychologist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, he talks about the needs human beings have. Yeah. We need food. We need shelter. We need health. We need to have fun. And this is one of the things he mentions. We need recognition. If we do something good, we need someone to tell us, well, you did a good work. That is a way to motivate students. So that is why this is an effective instructional strategy. It is a way to motivate our students. We need to provide them recognition, yeah, to recognize their effort. The fourth one is homework and practice. That is a way to rehearse. And by rehearsing, the students develop their short-term memory and long-term memory. Then we have the cooperative learning, that is the social aspect of learning. You know that Vygotsky talks about the social development theory, because we need to, and that's something that we need nowadays, that is abilities, interpersonal abilities to work in groups, in teams. So that's why it's important to develop cooperative learning in our students. Setting objectives and providing feedback. So we need to have a clear target, yeah? Generating and testing hypotheses. That is a way to ask or to make our students feel interested in the things we teach. And finally, we have the questions, cues, and advanced organizers. That is a way to help them like to have an order in their mind. Yeah, to have knowledge organized in their minds. Yeah, open mental files, roadmap for learning. So that's why he says that if we apply, those authors say that if we apply these strategies, the learning process is going to be effective. Okay, so we have here assessment. That is the third component that is really important in the learning process. And that's why the last encounter I asked this about your virtual learning environments. So we have the levels of learning and we have the assessment method we could implement to get to that level of learning. Yeah. So we have critical thinking and making judgments, solving problems and developing plans, performing procedures and demonstrating techniques, managing and developing oneself, accessing and managing information, demonstrating knowledge and understanding, designing, creating, performing, and communicating. Yeah. So we have the levels of learning, but they are focused on assessment. And we have the different ways we can get to that level of learning by applying different strategies. For example, if you want to assess your students' critical thinking, you can ask them to write a essay, a report, a comment, a journal, a letter. If you want to develop solving problem skills, well, you can ask them to think about the problem scenario, to work in groups, to analyze a case, yeah, to study a case. If you want your students to perform procedures and demonstrate techniques, you can ask them to demonstrate something, to plan a role play, to make a video, to produce a poster, an observation manual, a journal portfolio, a learning contract, group work. Well, so you have here some examples because, well, you can include others here because, well, it depends on the teacher and it depends on the population, but it is for you to have like an idea about that. Okay. So to finish, because we are running out of time, I would like to ask you these two questions. The first one, what are the standards and benchmarks you are expected to teach? And how can you incorporate the 9 most effective instructional strategies in your practice? According to what we have seen before. It is like a reflection process. Okay, what do you think about it? You are very quiet today.
Well, let me go then. Well, look, when they say what are the standards and benchmarks you're expected to teach, I would say that we're expected as English teachers to teach the basic learning right or derechos básicos de aprendizaje, and if possible, get to the point where we teach the Common European Framework of Reference. See, maybe just going a little bit beyond from that, I would say that we're expected to teach students to be to play important roles in a society that demands them being integral persons, integral people, right? That they behave according to the place where they are and caring for others and that kind of stuff. And how can you incorporate the 9 most effective instruction strategies in your practice? Since there are 9 and they're not easy to remember, I would say that it would be nice to have like a checklist of those 9 things. For example, when you're planning your class, you can check your planning and check the checklist and say, okay, does this include this? Does this include this? Does this include? Okay, yes, it has it all. Okay, so now I can carry it out and well, and try to succeed and survive in the classroom.
Yeah, very good. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, and we, as language teachers, we have a hard job because, well, we need to include many things in our practice because we need to include the standards, we need to include the Common European Framework, we need to include culture, we need to include what you mentioned before, the DBA, that is Derechos Básicos de Aprendizaje. Now we have that is related to the currículo sugerido. And we also need to include the study plan or the documents that the schools have, and we need to develop interpersonal skills and, well, many things. So sometimes we feel like our job is overwhelming because, well, we have to consider many things and to include all of them, and administrators are always expecting for results, and they are always assessing our job. So, well, that is a hard job. That is something hard. Yeah.
On top of that, other teachers think we just play and have fun.
Exactly. Yeah. If you try to do something different, for example, if you are playing in the classroom, we'll say, oh, what happened with the teacher? He doesn't have classroom management, because sometimes administrators expect students to be like robots, quiet in roles, but they say, yeah, but they also ask us to have active classes, but if we have active classes, they don't like it, and, well, yeah, that's
Teacher, I don't like the activity. Let's do something different.
Exactly. Yeah, right. So that's why our job is very difficult. Very difficult. It's one of the most difficult jobs, but it's, well, at the same time, it is very rewarding, and it's great if you like teaching. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's really hard, but some schools are different, so sometimes we can enjoy more, or we can do an effective job. It depends on the school, and every group is different. If the students show interest, that would be easier.
Yeah, and I think that is the most important part. If we feel that our students are happy, are motivated, well, that is the most rewarding thing we can have in this process, more than the parents, administrators' opinions. Well, if our students are happy, I think that is really rewarding. And yeah, it depends on the school. Well, not all of the schools. Yes, I am generalizing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also work at university, but I teach Portuguese because I haven't finished university, so I can't teach English at university yet. And all the English classes, students are quiet, teachers are talking all the time, and so they don't learn. At university, they don't have much time, and you see, sometimes the students see or think this is just a requirement for me to graduate. So it's strange. It's so weird. And in my class, okay, Portuguese is easier to teach because have some similarities to Spanish. So, but my students, I put my students to speak, to practice about anything. So sometimes we talk, and sometimes we are kind of noisy, and so it's different to the other teachers. So I hate that my students are quiet all the time and don't participate, and it's strange. I hate that.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, and that's the only way to learn a language, to use it. Yeah, and I don't know how students can learn if the teacher is the one who is talking all of the time. Yeah.
And besides, I think it's hard to teach English at university because of many factors.
Yeah.
I don't know what would I do if I teach English at university. I don't know how I would do it.
Yeah, you're right. Well, and here Ana Maria says that it depends on the school. She has 31 students in first grade. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I can tell you that is a good number if we are going to see the public schools where a teacher can have 40 students in first grade. And first grade is, I think that is one of the most difficult grades to teach because students are learning to read and write. So it's very hard. And how can you teach them to read and write if you have 31 students or if you have 40 students? Yeah, it's a private school. Yes, I know that some private schools are similar to public schools where you have many students, and how can you do that if you have 30 or 40 students in first grade? Yes, it's something hard. Okay, well, thank you very much for your ideas, and well, I would like to explain a little bit the activity that we have for next week. That is the lesson plan. You can find a form that is a suggested form to develop this lesson plan. If you want to use a different one, you can do it. Okay? So what you have to do, first of all, is to read and analyze the resources that are available in the lesson 3.2 document. It is already, no, it is not available yet, but the form is available now. So you have to create a lesson plan developing a specific topic using IC tools. Yeah. If you want to continue working on the same topic you are teaching in your virtual learning environment, you can do it. If you want to use a different topic, it's okay. The lesson plan must include a rationale. Please, this is important, to explain the use of ICT. This rationale may have citations based on the literature presented in the lesson and other resources. Please don't forget this. Citations support with the literature available in the virtual classroom, and if you want to include a different one, you can do it. It must include the description of the target population, the purpose of the lesson, the methodology, and resources. It is necessary to use one or more multimedia resources. You can use some of the resources developed during the course or any other one. For example, if you want to use your virtual learning environment as a way to develop this class, you can do it. Or if you want to include the avatar, the video, or something different, it's okay. Your product must be a Word file, which includes a lesson plan, and this assignment must reflect your comprehension and knowledge about the implementation of ICT in English classes. This product has to be uploaded in the space available to do so in the virtual room and not later than the due date, that is September the 30th at midnight. You can work in groups. This is a group activity. You can have groups of 2 or 3 students. And please read the assessment rubric in advance in order to have in mind all of the assessment items. Okay, as I told you before, well, you can find the form now if you can take a look of it. If you want to use a different one, you can do it. And that's it. And that would be our final activity for the course.
Great.
Yeah?
Thank you. Great.
Okay. Do you have questions about this?
Teacher, excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you remember our classmate Fernando Riveros?
Yeah.
He asked me to tell you that he couldn't attend today because he's in Tobia with his students.
Yeah, he told me last class. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, Belisario, thank you very much. Okay, do you have?
Thank you.
Okay, questions about this activity? No.
So it is a free activity, it's an open activity. So we have the possibility to choose what to write exactly about the context, about our real, maybe the scene where we work, maybe. Am I right?
About the population you are going to work with?
No, about homework, about the task. It is open to let maybe the population, the students, but
Yes, yes.
maybe.
You can
Okay.
choose a population that you want. For example,
Okay.
it is not necessary to be the same one that you use for your virtual learning environment or for another activity. You can use a different one. But the important thing is that you plan the lesson trying to include ICTs and taking into account the criteria that I'm going to assess. Yep.
Okay. Including that. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
so you need to have the rationale, the description of the population, the methodology. Yeah. Okay. More questions about this? Okay, guys. So, well, I'm checking your virtual learning environments. I have seen some of them. They are really nice. I'm in that process. Well, this is a hard activity to check because it has many things to assess. So, well, I'm going to try to do it as fast as I can. But what I have seen up to this moment, well, it is nice and well, it is really interesting. Okay. Okay, so guys, thank you for attending the encounter. So see you next week. Please, I don't remember right now, but I think you have to do the self-assessment, your self-assessment rubric. Okay, so please don't forget about that. Anyway, I'm going to check and I write a message to you if it is for this week, but I think it is. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. Have a good week and see you next Wednesday.
Same to you. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.